Today we'll be going over the first video in the final section, section 5, deploying your application. This one is deploying to Meteor.com. Inherent inside of Meteor is the ability to deploy to the test servers that point to Meteor.com. We'll show you exactly how to do that in the command line. It's very straightforward. We'll look at modifying the existing service that we have that is listening to our local host. We'll have it listen instead to Meteor.com. And then we will also test the application to make sure that the deployment was carried out properly. Okay, now that our application is up and running on localhost, we're ready to deploy this to a server for testing. Okay, so we're going to go into the command line. Meteor makes this very, very easy to do. We're going to go ahead and stop our application, and we're simply going to type Meteor deploy, and then we're going to name it something unique. In this case, we're going to do packed-snippets.meteor.com. Okay, we could have entered anything, but we decided to enter packed snippets. Now you'll see it's deploying to this packed-snippets.meteor.com, and it's uploading. This could take a little while, so we've sped this part of it up, but it should be ready very soon here. And now it's serving http://packed-snippets.meteor.com. We can put this into a browser and replace localhost 3000, and it looks like it's working, right? Even the signup's there, so we'll go ahead and create that user, the user1 at test.com. And let's go ahead and create a couple of snippets just to make sure everything's working properly. So we'll go ahead and put in here our very first public, let's call it URL snippet. Okay. Let's edit the description, put in something real simple inside of there, make sure it sticks. And look, everything's working just great. All right. There is one problem that we're going to run into, and that's because our service is no longer running. So when we put in a URL, it's not being listened to, because remember, we were listening on localhost. So there's no link button inside of there because the service isn't running against our newly deployed URL. So let's go ahead and remedy that. It's pretty straightforward how to do that. First thing we need to do is create that admin user. Okay, so we'll create admin at test.com with the same user ID and password that we had when we were running it on localhost. All right. Now we're going to go into our URL checker. This is that other service that we created. And right up there at the top, under the connection, instead of pointing to localhost 3000, we're going to add our new URL, which is packed-snippets.meteor.com. That's pretty much all we have to do. We want to clean up the database a little bit. We have the tokens that we have inside of there because we want to get rid of the old ones. So we'll go ahead and do a Meteor reset inside of our terminal window. Okay, that resets the project, gets rid of all of those nasty little tokens that were there for localhost 3000. And now we'll go ahead and run Meteor again on port 1337, just like last time. Okay, this will start everything up, make sure that the application gets built properly. And now we see that our app is running again on localhost 1337. So now instead of listening to port 3000 in localhost, it will now be listening to our newly created service. Let's check it out. Okay, we're going to log back in as user1 at test.com. Put in the password there. And lo and behold, look, our link's working. All right, let's test it. And let's add another one inside of there and see if the service is indeed listening. And it's created immediately. So it is working. So our service is now monitoring because we fixed the URLs. Let's go ahead and test one of these. This link is to PackedPub. And yep, it's working just fine. So everything seems to be in order. We've been able to create that service. Okay, we were able to deploy our application through a simple deploy command in the command line in the terminal. We were able to modify our existing service to point to the new Meteor.com link instead of to our local host. And we were able to test this in production, so to speak, by going to our newly created Meteor.com URL. Our next video is deploying to a custom host name. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.